harmful than anything else. And I think that's a good thing to keep in your pocket. I would err on the side of being safe and not pushing it too much.
Could I just ask you just to clarify the question, because it's a very important question? Is she someone? How do you know? How do you know? I don't need this. How do you know her? I mean, is she learning with her? Is she interested in Judaism? These are all.
She's interested, but she's a beginner. I was a madrika.
You were her madrika for what? For Jewel. So she's been to Jewel, and so she has some understanding. Some. I mean, because the thing is, this is just that, like Rabbi Solomon, right? It was saying is that of course you should say something. Of course you should say something, and it's always uncomfortable. But the question is going to be effective or not, right? So that if she feels that you care about her, and you can raise it in a way that's not threatening to her, but because coming from a place of care, and and she probably knows that you think that it's not a great thing for her, does she not?
I think she knows without saying.
Yes. So say, have you? The question is whether, if you think it's completely impossible, so then probably better, like Rabbi Solomon saying, that don't say something that's not going to be heard if you really know it's not going to be heard. But otherwise, if you can say something and say, listen, you want to have children who are going to have Jewish parents, and it's complicated to have one parent who's Jewish and one person Catholic, and did you ever think I love you, I care about you, I just but if you think it's not going to go at all, then maybe perhaps not. But you don't want to be in a position where you could have said something and it could have made a difference and you didn't.
See, you have to bear with me because it gets better as I talk. So it'll be worse than the first 30 seconds. I just haven't stopped talking all Shabbos. It's what Rabbi Solomon, what he said is 100% right. Everybody understands that kashem shem mitzvah loy mardav nishma kach mitzvah loy mardav nishma. It's also mitzvah not to say something that people won't be able to hear. You have to know the kavanah tzchar aprisha, what not to say. But l'maisa, marriage is a very, very serious decision, and we're going to lose this person for a long time.
That's right.
So if there's the slightest crack,
Correct.
you need to say something. Now, having the right thing to say helps. So I actually have a lot of experience in this. I was a rabbi out of town, and everyone would cross the street when I passed by. Everybody avoids Orthodox rabbis everywhere, except on one occasion. Everybody found my number when their sons were engaged. That's what they find out. So I was like a Navi. I would get these calls from these women, and I'd go to Rabbi Feldheim, this is so-and-so, I'm a member of Shir Ami. And I would say, hold on, and your son's engaged to a Catholic. She'd go like, how'd you do that? And I would say, that's the only time people from Shir Ami call me. So she would say, well, will you help me? And I said, I'll gladly help you. So she said, can I send my son over? And I would say, no, we'll do it my way. You come first. She goes, no, Rabbi, it's okay. You can tell him anything you want. By the way, what I'm saying now will sound like it doesn't work in your case, because I'm telling a story with a woman. But what I do to people who didn't ask for it, they want to talk to you. They just know how to bring it up. They know what you think. So I tell them this story. I say, let me tell you what happened. I recently had a mother call me, and this is what I told her. So this is my opening, and here's what I described. And I'll tell you why this works. Because you see, you have to come across not as a fanatic. You have to come across reasonable, loving, concerned, open-minded, and then you shock them and you gain credibility. And then they're totally disarmed. You have to say every single thing that they don't expect you to say. So here's my speech. I'll do it very short. The woman, I would tell them, come to my house, we'll talk. And she would go, Rabbi, you don't need to talk to me. I give you permission. You can tell them whatever you want. Don't worry. You don't need to talk to me first. Whatever you want to say, give them whatever you got. And I'd say, listen, come to my house. We'll talk. And she'd go, Rabbi, we're wasting time. I give you my full authority. I said, can we do it my way? Come to my house. So finally she would come reluctantly. And she'd sit down by my table. And I would say, so, tell me about the girl. She'd say, the girl she's not Jewish. I said, tell me about her. She goes, Rabbi, she's a wonderful girl. She's pretty, she's smart, she's a nice family, she's a good job, she's got all, everything. She's not Jewish. We don't have a problem with the girl, she's not Jewish. I would say, listen, let's save time. Answer my questions. Tell me about the girl. What do you want to know? Well, her family, parents, they're married 30 years, they're sort of involved in their church like twice a year, just like us. She goes to this school, she has a degree. I listen to her and I would say, you know what? This sounds so beautiful. They're like so tzugavas, mazel tov. And she would go, Rabbi, she's not Jewish. And I would say, sounds as good as any Jewish girl. Listen, she goes to the same school as your son, listen to the same music, the same movies, they do the same stuff. Your families sound pretty similar. It really sounds like mamish, like beautiful. She goes, Rabbi, what are you saying? I said, like, what's your problem? She goes, she's not Jewish. I said, you know what? You're a racist. And she would go, what are you talking about? I'd say, you should be so proud of your son. He grew up in a racist home, and he overcame that. And he's going to marry the best girl that he can find, and not be blinded by your primitive prejudice. And she would go, what was it? What if it was your son? I'd say, I'd shoot him. And she goes, oh, and you're not a racist? I said, I don't have a racist bone in my body. She goes, what are you saying? So listen, I believe in Judaism. I believe in the Torah. I believe in Yiddish. I believe in God and gave us the Torah. And I think this girl's wonderful. And it sounds so nice. It's just Hashem said no. You don't believe that. You don't believe Hashem said no. You don't know Judaism. You don't believe in Judaism. What right do you have to tell your son he's fondly in love with a girl, he has a wonderful girl, you tell him he can't do it? That's racism. So she looks at me totally shocked and she says, maybe I do believe that God said so. And I would say, I don't let up so easy. I'm like harsh. I only get one crack at these people, so I have to push it. She goes, and I would say like, how convenient. The one mitzvah in the whole Torah that is going to embarrass you in front of your neighbors is the one thing you said God said, and everything else God didn't say. So she says, I just said I don't believe that God gave the whole thing. I say, you know what? It's so beautiful you said that. But it's approximately 24 years too late. And you never told your son this. You joined the shul that told your son the opposite. You avoided me at all costs. You never even thought about this. But you're right. I'll talk to your son, and I'll do the best I can. But you better make sure you tell the rest of your children what you just told me before it happens again and again and again. That's my gig. And I tell that to the kids. When I talk to the kid who's getting into married, and I said, this is what I tell them. And they look at me with the joy, they like fall in love with me. They go like, can you tell that to my uncle? Can you do the same thing? I'm going to bring in my parents. Because they've been hit by their mother and father have brought them every hypocritical secular Jew to talk sense into them. And they've heard already so much racism. And they want me to say that. I said, I'll tell you parents. And then they look at me, so what's really wrong with it? And then I say, I'm not going to tell them I'm here to hurt you. I'm not going to be able to change your mind. Just go do what you're doing. Marriage is hard enough as it is. I need you to look at your wife now forever and feel like she ruined your history and your family. And I can't do that to you. You really are a good kid. You grew up in a shallow home and you rose to the top and you're beautiful. You want me to tell you things. There's no way you're going to be strong enough to listen to me. So why should I say something to you? And at that point, I have the guy. They go, you know, you're not going to tell me. And I'll say, no. Because this girl, in a world of anti-Semitism, this girl wants to marry a Jew. She's a wonderful girl. And she deserves a husband who thinks that she's the greatest thing. And if I tell you about Judaism and what it is, and how important it is, you're not going to be able to do that. And then he's a Jewish kid. He can't go on like that. So I say, you know what? Maybe spend 3 months, you go to Israel, you talk to people, and you learn something about it. I'll talk to you a little bit. But you can't go halfway. I can't tell you something that you're going to look at her crooked forever. We'll do it. We'll talk for a while. Get it? And then you'll be able to make an enlightened decision. And you'd be surprised. I've consistently broken up couples. Consistently. And I end up talking to the girl too, and I end up, it's harsh and people cry. But I've also done 13 geiruses, and legitimate geirim, and people are from, and Erlich and Yorei Shamayim. But if you do it right and you're honest, you're not, I'll tell you one last thing. One
Sure,
stop.
just finish the session. I think the answer to your question is very simple. Give Rabbi Feldheim her phone number, he'll take care of. Okay. Any other questions? Yes. No other questions? Come on. Yes.
So I have some people who are not.
What?
I have some people who are not from who come to our house and they join the Shabbos table. They help cook the supper. We've made challah together. How do you take them to that next step without pushing them away? Like where they want to accept something on themselves or they want to do something. They at least now are positive towards firmkeit, but I don't know how to take that next step.
So they come to your house.
And they love coming. They're interested and they ask questions. And
Great. How do you go to the next step that they maybe start doing a little bit more
Rabbi
mitzvah?
Orlofsky has the answer.
Oh, go ahead.
Let's hear it.
Rabbi Solomon, you never get to talk. Rabbi Solomon was my learning director when I went to camp.
That's right.
So he's so much older than I am. The truth is, someone said to me, "What are you going to talk about?" I said, "I'm on a panel with Rabbi Feldheim. I'm just going to sit there." Don't start crying because you're next. Anyway. What you have to do is not be afraid. You're not trying to hurt anybody. You know, I was teaching in Discovery many years ago where we would sit down afterwards and evaluate the guys. And there was a guy in a fine university. He was on the fast track. He was going to have a great career, you know, and he was on this, trajectory where he's going to be like the American dream. And we had him in Discovery, and by the end he decided to, take a leave of absence and sit in yeshiva. So while we were evaluating it, one of the advisors said jokingly, "Well, we ruined another life." Now, it's only half joking, yeah, because, we look at these people and we think, wow, this is a success. It's not success. Anything we give them with Torah and mitzvahs is the greatest success in the world. So we don't have to feel, uptight about it. The most important thing, and I think we heard that Shabbos at the Symposium, I forgot who was speaking, where he talked about how he had this couple who was coming to them the whole time for Shabbos. You here anyway? We talked about the guy who was coming for Shabbos.
7 years.
Feldman.
Feldman.
Anyway, am I the only one who listens to these things? Anyway, and he said, I finally said to him, "Do you want to learn Gemara?" And I said, you got to get somebody into learning. Learning takes you to the next step. I'll tell you an amazing story that I heard of Matisyahu Solomon. Any relation?
Not yet.
Oh. Anyway, Matisyahu Solomon, a Rebbe said to him and says, "I hear that the Mashgiach doesn't travel on Route 9. He says, "It's true." He says, "Why?" "There are things there that I don't think are appropriate." So the Rebbe says, "The Mashgiach has such sensitivities to these things?" He says, "I try." He says, "And yet you let your Bachram go out on dates unsupervised?" Yeah. So the Mashgiach said like this, "You're right. You're right. But what can I do?" He says, when the Gedolim came to America, they found the Churban. They found the Churban in Shabbos, and the Churban in Tznius, and the Churban in Kashrut, and the Churban in anything. And they said, put the emphasis on one thing, Liman HaTorah. Get people to learn. When people learn, their entire approach to Judaism and life changes. So if you have somebody who's coming by and doing all these good things, get them a chavrusa, set them up. I would bet dollars to donuts that Project Inspire must have some kind of a system of setting up people to be able to learn. Yeah. There you go.
Women also. Yeah.
What?
Women.
Yes.
No, not women. But for the men, the women they bake challahs. But for the men, of course, for the women, that's ridiculous. The women have no yetzer hara not to learn, so they sit and learn all the time. When the Ve'im Shalayim got started, he put in an ad, "I'm starting about Tshuva Yeshiva," and 7 women showed up. That's how he started the Ve'im Shalayim. So there's no problem there, But people who start learning, they move to the next level automatically.
Just while we're on that point, Daniel Haas would like to stand up for a second, please. Yeah. Daniel Haas is our one-on-one learning coordinator. She does an absolutely fantastic job. And if you are interested in a one-on-one learning partner, please be in touch with Danielle in our office, and she'll find someone for you.
info@projectinspire.com.
Info@projectinspire.com. Very good.
I just want to say how much I agree, and that learning actually always takes you to the next level, if you can, and if the next one after that is Eretz Yisrael. Taking a trip to Eretz Yisrael, and if you're going to do that together, that's transformational.
More questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to direct this question to the whole panel, which everyone is into Kiruv work.
Is anybody here into Kiruv work? None of them here.
Oh, okay.
You came to the wrong class.
My question is a psychological question on behalf of all of you. How do you cope psychologically in a case, and in many cases, where you brought people to a high level of Shmir Torah mitzvahs, and they backpedal slowly, and finally they backpedal all the way? How do you cope psychologically? How do you feel about it?
This is really a question for Rabbi. It's a psychological
Great
question. We need a psychologist.
It's a tremendous question. And the question was, how do you cope when you've put a lot of work into people and they've reached them to the high level and then they backslide and you watch what happened?
How does this make you feel?
How does it
Too much fun up here. It's not right. It's not right.
Yeah.
Listen, you brought me in here. I got 2 crummy classes this whole time. I can't believe it. My gosh. You invited everyone and their brother to this convention. You know what I mean? I got nothing to do. I'm walking around trying to make people from, and they're all from Brooklyn. You know?
They need it most. So the question is excellent, but when I listen to it, Rabbi, this is Rabbi Herschel Lieber, by the way, a legend in Kiruv, by the way. And when we finish this talk, I'm going to ask you the same question, how you cope with it, because you've probably seen it yourself. And of course it's devastating. You put work into something and you see it. But it's not, to me, any different than any other disappointment in life, in which you put a lot of work into anything, and then it doesn't turn out the way, I mean, I hate to bring it up, but how much work do we put into our children sometimes, and then we watch them slide. It's not easy to do. It's not very different than any other disappointment in how we cope. I will tell you that when I come to gatherings like this, I didn't say it over this weekend, but I usually tell failure Kiruv stories. I think they're the best ones. Because, all the success stories, and Rabbi Orlofsky has told many of them about it, you just skip right to the end, and now she's in Bnei Brak, and she has 14 kids and 26 grandchildren, and she wears it,
and she's 27.
And she's, right. So they're all so beautiful, and etc. And it's just, the problem is that they all don't turn out that way. Guess what? So I like to tell failure Kiruv stories, and the reason that I think they're more effective is because, first of all, people relate to them a lot more, and there are many like that. And second of all, because in the past, whenever I've had any failure Kiruv stories, which has never happened to me, but if it would have, I go to my Rav, who's also your Rav, Dovid, and he tells me, Yankel, he always says, you should know you are 100% successful. And that's why I go back to him, because he keeps telling me how successful I am. So I said, maybe the Rav didn't hear the story. I spoke to her, and she was doing good, and then it dropped. I said, you are 100% successful. And I look at him and said, what are you talking about? And he says, the results are not your domain. You have to, it's up to him, or it's up to her, or it's up to the Rebbeinu. It's not up to you. You put in your effort. If it's a full effort, you're 100% successful. And by the way, that's across the board and everything. And we forget that. We forget that the Rebbeinu Shlem's report card is only on the effort. Remember the report card? You got like a 40. This is your kind of stuff. You got like a 40. Effort, excellent. They say, oh, well, it's pretty good. You bring them to your parents, they slap you in the face. But look, I got an effort. I got an excellent in effort.
I never got
that. No, you're right. I remember that.
Never got
that. But the truth is that in the heavenly report card, that's really what counts. It's just the effort line. So we have to keep that in mind, keep remembering that as long as we put in our maximum hishtadlus, we're doing everything we can, we are 100% successful.
If I could say personally, I don't know if he answered in terms of how he feels about it, but he feels fine, he's 100%. But for me personally, I can tell you, it's very difficult for me. And I'm not even talking about when a person goes and then falls. I'm talking when a person doesn't do it in the first place. In all these realms, when you care about someone and you actually want them to be able to be successful, want them to grow, and then especially when you put time and effort. But even without the time and effort, I remember I have a certain person that I once met somewhere, someplace, just to be specific. And this person, I remember being on a Friday night. That's Shabbos, by the way. And what happened was I watched this person walk, a secular person, to the car. And the person walking them to the car, the person escorting them, was apparently a religious person. And I watched them out the window, and perhaps I shouldn't have been looking. I should have been learning Torah, but okay, it's Chaim ben Nafshel. And I watched as he put the person in the car, elderly person, helped them in, and then as he started to close the door. And as it was in slow motion, because they were doing, I don't know if there's something wrong with them, but they were doing this. But then it went fast, right? And then went like that. And it was like, and as it went, I went, and I felt this shot to the heart. And they were to blame that in the way that they did it. And it was something which was very, very, very painful for me. And I went to this person and I said, how could you do that? Torah, and I didn't have much else to say. And okay, there's a long story to this, which you don't want to hear, but you probably do, but another time. But I will tell you that it's very hard. But also we know that Avram Avinu, if I can say this, such a thing, if I can say, I know it sounds a little bit intense, but Avram Avinu in this realm seemed to have been a tremendous failure. In other words, Kol HaNefesh Yeralsu B'Charon, that Avram Avinu went and he was Makariv. I mean, what did he do all day? He fed people and then he would coerce them into having to make brachas. It was a beautiful way of Kiruv that ended up very not successful. But what happened was, in the end of the day, Chas Hashem, but you understand what I'm saying? So Avram Avinu and Yitzchak comes to try to fix all those things that he did. So how did he feel? So yes, we're 100% successful, no matter what we do. And every person has bechira, that's up to them. Everyone has their bechira. But does it hurt? The answer is like was mentioned. If you care for someone, you love for them, then it hurts tremendously. And that's, I think, is the whole, this question wasn't asked, but that's, if it doesn't hurt you, then I think that person's in the wrong profession. Like the Mishnah says, you need to love the person. And if you don't feel hurt, then in my understanding, it's felt in the love. That means that it is a loss in actual love towards a person. So the answer is, how do I cope with it? I say to my wife daily, what's going to be with Klal Yisrael? And I don't cope with it. And then I attempt to try it again in a way which I say Torah and no one listens.
Yes. Yes.
Wait, let me say, let me add in 30 seconds. Short, this is something a little different.
Show us manios.
I want to say a short 15-second story of something like this that happened. I had a guy for a month. We worked on Shuvah, and we did Musar and growing, and came Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. The guy davened like a tzaddik, he cried, and 2 weeks into Cheshvan, he was davening in Satmar already at 10:45. And that guy was me. So I work a whole hour, and I do tshuva, and I come to Shul Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, and I'm right where Hashem wants me to be. And then I slip. And that's the nature of life. And we should look at our Bali Tshuva exactly as we look at ourselves. And life is not like this. It's ups and downs. And if you start pulling your hair out, you just make the guy feel more far gone. So what do I do for myself when I find myself in Satmar? I look at myself and I find my Nakuda Taivis, my good things, and I say, you're not such a... Davening's not your thing. But you're good at this, you do that, and you care about whatever. You find your things that you're kleiches, and you think about those things. And you also wait for moments where you feel vulnerable, because those moments are times that you can strengthen yourselves in the places where you're weak. And your children, your Bali Tshuva, because you have to see them the same way. If you work constantly at making them cognizant of their Nakudas Taivis, the things that they bring to the table, then they will be stronger, and their weaknesses won't drag them down. And then you wait for the moments in their lives where they're having difficulties and they're vulnerable. And at that time, those times, you help them recover from the areas where they are struggling. Everything that goes on, Rabbi, goes on in ourselves. And the best way to work with them is to treat them exactly. And we've developed very good skills for our own personalities. And they work just as well for the people we care about.
I think that was about 15 seconds. Yes, next question.
Yeah, so one.
Wait, I didn't get to answer.
You'd like to answer?
Yeah, it doesn't bother me at all.
Next question.
I want to make that very, very clear. As Rav Gav said so well, it bothers me as much as anybody else. The problem is when you get involved in this business, you cannot think it's you. Because if you think it's you, then you're going to go out of your mind. And so when people come over and tell me, oh, look at all the people you made from, I said, I never made anybody from. Because if I'm going to take credit for the successes, I have to take responsibility for the failures, and I am not going to do that. So I talked to 20 people, and 3 of them became from. So then I'll get to Shemaim, and they say, you didn't make 17 people from. I didn't make anybody from. I teach, I give my material over, and a Kadosh Baruch Hu, if they're successful, it's great. And if not, not. It has nothing to do with me. And if they go and they choose to grow and then they choose to fall back, I'm sorry for them as I am for anybody, but not because I'm involved.
Very
Good.
interesting answer.
Yes, Lev.
Yeah, so
Very interesting.
one of the Chashuva panelists once said that if they had unlimited funds, they would double the salary of every Rebbe because you were bringing people into a system that has many challenges as well.
That's failing.
So you should, so you should bolster it up.
Oh, you're talking about him.
But how do you balance our chiyuv to the rest of Kali Yisrael, which clearly there's a big chiyuv, and at the same time, Kiruv is becoming so challenging that the yeshivas in Eretz Yisrael are not overflowing with people that is what God can tell you. And so how do you balance that challenge of your chiyuv of Kiruv and our chiyuv Klapi Pnim to really bolster our current system in the current world?
Okay.
Next one.
Any takers?
When people are not from it, it's a lot. It's a lot. Honestly, I don't know. You want to answer? I don't understand the question because it was
I'll explain the question.
I'm assuming, yeah.
I'll explain the question. I won't answer it, but I'll explain it. Yeah? The frum world is in shambles. Nobody wants to say this, but it's true, right? And everybody knows it. Yaakov Horowitz, he once said, people ask me how Klal Yisrael is doing. I said, it's like a chasana. If you're in the middle circle with the chassan, it's unbelievable. Everyone's dancing, goes into it. You reach the second circle, it's also okay. You reach the third circle where I am, the old people who are shuffling back and forth. No, then there's the people sitting at the tables. Then there are people outside smoking. And I point out, I add on that, and as you grow, they're concentric circles, so each circle gets bigger. So if you're in the middle, it's gewaldic. If you're not, then it's a real problem. So with all the problems in the frum world, and with the limited resources that we have, how do you tell somebody, take this money and help some frum person in Oshkosh, you know what I mean? Or help your own kids who are here in Brooklyn who are falling apart. That's the question.
The secular person in Oshkosh.
What?
Secular person.
Secular person in Oshkosh. Yeah, there aren't that many frum people in Oshkosh.
Good. I have no idea.
Yes.
But that, that doesn't stop me from talking. Right.
How does that make you feel?
Right. It is a very good question. I have to go on record, okay? Because I saw somebody taping this. So I have to go on record. I love Dovid Orlofsky more than I love Gav.
You said it's on record. But off the record.
Only because we go back longer.
The fact is
I'm like a grandson to him.
Right, he was my Talmud.
He's like a grandfather.
And he owes me a tip. From way back. Remember that?
Invest in oil.
Right. Thank you. Which is dropping like crazy. Yeah. Anyway, but to be very serious for a moment, I have to go on record. Because as much as I love Rabbi Orlofsky and I respect him tremendously, I disagree with him.
I didn't say anything.
I do not. You were going to.
Just explain the question. I just explained the question.
You said something that I disagree with. I do not believe that the frum world is in shambles. I do not believe it at all. And you said it as a fact, and it's certainly not a fact. It's barely an opinion. And it's not true. we have problems, and we're not hiding from the problems, but we are not in shambles at all. I think that in many ways, I know you're not going to talk to me anymore, but in many ways, we are doing great. We are doing just amazing. And if I can go on and on about how many wonderful things we're doing.
People would like to leave the room. There's going to be a fist fight now.
Yeah.
He's much stronger than me.
I have to go. No, I just have to say it on record. And it bothers me. Well, and you're not the only one. It bothers me when people say that, because we are in a very unique position of speaking to people who sometimes have a lot of problems, and we think in our own myopic way that this is the way life is, and this is the way life in the frum world is, and I do not believe that it's true. I think that in terms of Torah, we're doing an amazing thing. In terms of Avodah, we're doing unprecedented things. In terms of Chesed, it's certainly unprecedented in the history of Klal Yisrael. So we have the three pillars of our lives, of Torah, Avodah, and Milas Chasadim, in which we are doing phenomenally well. But we do have certain problems, and we're not answering your question, I understand that. And I believe that the person who asked the question is no longer here. But I wouldn't blame him if he left. So I don't know the answer to the question, but I just wanted to go on record as disagreeing with you, and we'll talk later.
Yeah, I just want to say I agree with both of them. Okay, so listen, on the one hand, yes, it's true, Torah, Avodah, Milas Chasadim, great stuff. On the other hand, it's also, I think, true to an extent that I see from like you mentioned, I could perhaps give some opinion about who's coming to the yeshivas. And a lot of times nowadays, it's coming in, you walk into a room of essentials where I teach the introductory program, Teisha Torah. It's not uncommon on any given day to find in upwards of 90% of the people there coming from firm backgrounds. And it's not necessarily only because they're coming to learn Kiruv skills, right? In other words, perhaps they're coming to learn themselves certain ideas. It doesn't mean shambles, it doesn't mean terrible, it doesn't mean horrible, it means catastrophic. And okay, in other words, that there is what to be dealt with in both. So how does one justify? The answer is that you have to just look for yourself. In other words, there's a lot of things to be doing. How does somebody go ahead? And I was walking once on a I don't want to say where, but I was in a neighborhood. Again, I'm too careful. I don't want to speak too much Lashon Hara out loud. But on the record, but because there's no video, Hashem can't hear as well. So, but I'll tell you that I was. Sorry, but anyway, it's not true. By the way, don't write that down. I always get people in the class. Seriously? Oh my goodness, that's amazing. Right? So, anyways, I was walking in a certain neighborhood. It was on a Friday night, and when I was walking there, I saw that there were these people that came from some religious home, some secular home, on a Friday night, involved with things that we would say generally in the Orthodox world that one should not be involved with on a Friday night. And it was I'm walking by this, and I'm watching this, and like was mentioned before, it really does hurt me to see this. But again, like Orlofsky said, I have a new take on life. Just don't care about anyone, and then you're not responsible, right? So, thank you for that, Rabbi. And just like
There's hope for you yet, my friend.
slowly I get there. So, but it was something which is painful to watch. These 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, and they're like totally out to lunch with what Yiddishkeit is. So I went to a Rav in that community, and I said to the Rav, I said, Rabbi Feldheim, I'm sorry. I went to the Rav of the community, and I said, do you know this place in this neighborhood? He said, of course. I said, do you know that there are kids that are hanging out there and doing whatever? He said, yeah. And so I said, so how could you not do anything? Like, how could you walk by and not do it and not help them? So he said to me, it's a very good question. Let me ask you something. This kid's come from home, it's a lot of them, right? So he said to me, do you know that there are a lot of Yisomim and there are a lot of Almanas? I said, yeah. He said, do you know that there are a lot of people that are having a hard time finding Parnasa? I said, yeah, a lot of people. He said, do you know that there's a lot of kids that are not getting into schools? I said, yes. He goes, do you know there's a lot of intermarriage? I said, yes. He said, do you know? He said, do you want me to deal with everything? Would you like me to sit down and deal with everything? The mitzias is, we only have a certain amount of time in our day and a certain amount of funds to be allocated. This is a reality that exists. And everyone has to understand and look to themselves to see where do they feel that they're going to be able to make the most impact. If they feel that it's in the religious community, so first of all, it doesn't have to do with the funds. You can volunteer and put in work and set up organizations and do things which we know people have done. This whole organization is built on individuals that decided to go ahead and say, let's make this happen. And now you have a Shabbos of 1,300. I mean, the whole thing, and this is only this Shabbos. I'm saying it's a phenomenal. So in which case, what I would say is, which one comes first I don't know I don't know how to answer the question. You know what I'm saying? Yes, it starts at the home. Yeah, it starts at the home. Okay, I get it. It does. So do it at the home, but that doesn't mean we should ignore. So what? You should do this and then not do that. Do that and then not do this. So therefore, we have to find a way that there's a possibility that we can help as much as we can. But again, there's only a finite amount of time and effort that we're able to do. That's what I would say about that.
But I just want to hear what Rabbi Feldheim says. Who's right, me or Rabbi Solomon?
I just want to say on behalf of Rabbi Kav and myself that we're very happy, and it seems that Rabbi Solomon doesn't love us as much.
He wasn't even mentioned.
That's because he's not making fun of you. Right?
You're not even on the list.
I'm very relieved, but I want to make shalom over here. Is the front community in shambles or is it not in shambles? So I have a unique way to make shalom that will make everybody angry at me. I think it is in shambles, but it's the exact opposite of who's the shambles and who's not. I think that we live in a Torah where things have come very easy to us, and all the people in shul are not really in shul. And Baruch Hashem, we have kids who are suffering and people who are going through very tough times. Because every single one of those people is going to find the Rabbeinu Shalom in a way that their comfortable, complacent parents won't. And I think the future of Klal Yisrael is in both the Bali Tshuva, who feel the tsar of their alienation from Torah and are therefore drawn to us, and the frum kids who are at risk, who are not happy and feel empty in their complacency. And they're the ones who are going to search out the Rabbeinu Shalom and find Yiddishkeit in the way that previous Deiros did. And so Baruch Hashem, the people we think are in shambles because they're the future of Klal Yisrael. And they're going to be the Heishav Levavi Salbonim. They're going to be the ones to make their complacent, comfortable parents again into Oyedei Hashem one day.
You didn't answer the question.
Yeah, just I was a little surprised as the administrator, moderator, thank you. But I was a little surprised that the panelists didn't mention, so forgive me for mentioning, that there's such a thing as called Project Inspire. Have you heard of that? Project Inspire. Inspire, who is the greatest recipient of going out and doing Kiruv?
With 400 speakers, so
who gets the great beneficiary of doing Kiruv? Who's the beneficiary? We are. I mean, that's one of the things that I think that people come. I don't know about the Kiruv, but it changed my life. And I think you see the inspiration that people have got, I think, from coming to a weekend like this. And therefore, one of the things that we believe is that when you take Acharayas for Acheinu Beis Yisrael, then the frum community itself is strengthened. Rabbi Dovid is saying this to me all the time. He says, I'm not so interested. The Kiruv is nice. I do it for my balabatim. When my balabatim come back from doing Kiruv, and you see that their faces are shining in a way that it's not when they come out of my Gemara shir. And I think that I think this fits very well. The Noah Minsker said Kiruv Rechokim is the mitzvah of the generation. So we understand that if it's the mitzvah of the generation, it means that we need to do it. It's what we need to do. Hashem doesn't need us to do Kiruv. It's because we need it. Why do we need it? Because when we do it, we grow, right? And therefore, in this generation, Kodesh Baruch Hu is saying, you need to do this because the frum community needs it. Not just because you want to makar of the non-frum, but you need it. There was a guy last night here, Mechi Spira, who I don't know if people have seen. There's a convention around these days or a weekend called Kiruv Tuni. Right? Have you seen that? Yeah. How did that start? Because Mechi Spira was here last night. He said, and I'm just saying this for he says, Rabbi Sampson, you're my Rebbe. You told me to do something. I did something. Right? So he ran this weekend and said he's doing another one. Right? Because he got the bug. He understood it. He understood the principles of Kiruv, and now he's doing Kiruv Krovim because it's basically the same thing, which is caring about Yenim, understanding all of the principles that we're saying. This is what we need to learn. Avos Yisrael, Avos Abrius. This is what. So when we learn this, we'll learn it for ourselves. We'll learn it for them. We have to do both. We have to do both. As Russell Weiss was asked a very similar question yesterday. He said you have to do both. So Better Hashem, I'm just being Shomer Mosif. That when we do this, we'll end up doing both more effectively.
But yes. You didn't answer the question.
A short message from our sponsor.
Is the frum community in trouble, or is everything great?
And I didn't say everything's great.
Torah, Voda, and Gevilas Chasodim. It's Gevaldik, everything's terrific. I want you to answer the question.
There are beautiful things happening in the frum community.
You're not answering the question.
And there are problems as well. And there are problems as well. Next question, please. Next question, please. Yes.
Thank you, Donald.
You're fat.
The Project Inspire video, I was there with my daughter in the 7th grade, and we were inspired. So I had some connection to a traditional school in North Carolina, and I had this idea that let's make pen pals between my daughter's classmates with the girls from that school. I thought it was a great idea.
I remember this, yeah.
I approached that school in North Carolina. They, of course, were very happy about it. I approached my daughter's school, and they were concerned about reverse hashbah. Who's to say that hashbah is going to go in the right direction?
Oh, yes.
And it died. I was a little bit aggravated by it, but I'm curious to hear what the panel has to say about reverse hashbah in case when you bring people into your house and so
Great
forth.
question.
Is that a good
Great
time?
question.
Great question.
Thank you.
Great question for Rabbi Dovid. This is, you have anything to say about
You
that?
too, because you're not loved. So
I'm in trouble. I'm in big trouble.
You are.
Yeah, I'm in big trouble.
First of all, I would say that your question really will answer the previous question also. And I want to point this out, is that we believe that when you want something done, you give it to a busy person. And the original question was, how do you put your resources into Kiruv Krayvim, Kiruv Chaikim, and I think that the fact that people are involved in Kiruv Chaikim really invades in no way into Kiruv Krayvim. The Makarvim are doing both, and we're still complaining we don't get enough speeches, right? So there's 40 speakers here, and everyone gets 2 speeches. We're willing to talk to everybody. I've never said no to a conversation, Kiruv Krayvim. I've never found that my Kiruv Chaikim and Kiruv Krayvim have invaded on each other. It makes each one more efficient. It gives me more breadth and experience. The people who need to speak to are the schools and the frum community to let the Makarvim work on their people. They're the bottleneck. The people come complain, why are you doing that? Why don't you talk to our kids? And my answer is, give me a room. I'll be there tomorrow. But they won't let us in because they're scared. They want to know what want them to hear. There is a problem of the 2 roles, but the bottleneck is not here. The bottleneck is in the community that doesn't feel it yet. They're still worried.
That's where the problem is, the schools.
Okay, so we're not the schools.
We don't start at the bottom and fix the schools.
Okay, so you go to Torah Masora convention.
All over the street.
There's some fire.
No, Rabbi Orlofsky's right. That's where it's
Kapaskin.
Okay, Maskin.
all start at the bottom.
The schools have.
The schools isn't illegal. The schools is. You gotta get to the schools.
you want to hear one of the most optimistic things that I have to say? I just spoke this week in Base Kayla, in Lakewood. So there's a... Thank you, and I'm available, by the way. But, so there's understanding that we,
The world is changing, but I want back to your question. That was a segue to the last question. As far as your question, then bringing people into your home, I found it's the most powerful thing you can do for your kids. Everything's dangerous in the world. Let people see the beauty of things. It's the idea that people are worried about what's going to happen to their kids, to see other people's eyes light up from the beauty of we have to offer. It's sad that people don't know how beautiful Judaism is. It's like if we had, I'm a Talmud a little bit in Kiruv of Rabbi Rosenberg. Rabbi Rosenberg was one of the original people, and he was very, very hard-nosed. I went to his Mudis, it was an early Kiruv camp, and he assigned one yeshiva bacher to every prospective student. We shared a room, and at night he would talk to us. So, how's your boy doing? And he said to us, so what your boy say? I said, my guy said he's having a hard time putting on tefillin every day. He said, that's really every day you have to do it? And he said, and what did you tell him? He said, I told him, I know, it's hard, but you get used to it, and after time. He goes, I brought you here to put your insecurities and your embarrassment and your Yetzer Hara on my guys. You're here to look pretty. Let me talk to the guys. He goes, what are you doing? You don't believe in God and you think you can do Kiruv? How do you live without tefillin? How does a person live without him? The guy says, yeah, we're tefillin. You say, Your life is empty. You're just suffering. We have such beauty. You can't be worried about Kiruv. You have to love Yiddishkeit. Your kids will see Kiruv and they'll see what it does to people. Your kids will glow. They'll become bulletproof. Don't worry that someone's going to say something. It's a sad world out there. It really is sad. The only people who think it's beautiful are Heimish people who are here. Everyone out there, the only reason they're not all joining us is they think they're too far gone. They don't have a chance. But they would love to have the life we have. And we need to hear that. And we don't see it in our own eyes. The only place we'll see it is in their eyes. Bring them into your house and see it in their eyes. Your kids will become bulletproof.
The kids are bringing the whole 7th grade into your house. That's what you're saying. No pen pals.
The question is excellent, Rabbi Newberg. I mean, because we always deal with this. It's very, very common, and I cannot agree more with the people that I love next to me on my left.
You're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
And I can't agree more about how important it is. The ikr, though, I would say to people who are afraid, is that that's the role of the home. If you give your kids the proper chinuch, if you give them a simchas Chaim, they will not be influenced in a bad way. That's the case in everything. You give them self-esteem, you give them a real genuine simcha and a love for Yiddishkeit, and you can sleep well at night. It doesn't mean it's a guarantee. It doesn't mean they're not going to be influenced at all. Oh, they're going to take out their iPhones, they're going to show them a movie, and they never saw one before, and then it's the end of the world, and then we're in shambles. So, I understand that fear, but the way to protect yourself, that's where the home comes in. You put a right chinuch in your home, and you sleep well. And then you show them the beauty of Yiddishkeit, then you can feel like you're not in danger.
I always tell people that if they have a kid who they think is uninspired, or they think that they're nervous, that he might be on the edge or something like that, I said, get him involved in Kiruv.
Yeah.
Let him learn with somebody else. Let him give to somebody else. The more people get to give to people who have less than them, it's mechazik them and gives them a position that I'm somebody, not only that I'm somebody choshev, but I have to sell the very thing that I'm supposed to be believing in myself. And it makes it stronger for everybody. So, I would say that the plan was a great plan, and I wouldn't give up. I'd find another class to do it.
Right.
Just to add, Rabbi West also answered this question, or dealt with this question and answered it, just to say, quote him, he said that on the one hand, there's a haftacha, that if you take care of a Kodesh Baruch Hu's children, he'll take care of yours. And we've seen all the experiences that go with that it like people to understand. When you see a Baal Tshuva who comes in and appreciates Shabbos, you heard David Maas yesterday speaking about his first Shabbos. What did it do for us to hear, wow, how beautiful is Shabbos? Oh, maybe it really is beautiful. So we benefit greatly. At the same time, I would just add, if you know there's a problem, or if you know something, if you know this will be negative, or you're seriously worried about it, not just because you're trying to put off Kiruv, you're trying to use it as an excuse. But if there really is a problem, don't ignore it. You can't be, your family comes first, right? So you can't ignore, if there's really an issue that's going to happen, you have to deal with it and look at it straight in the face. Say, maybe we shouldn't invite this person for in this particular case. And in general, it's machazek greatly. Great. Yes?
But this is what I do for my family.
Questions? Yes, please.
This is the best thing you can do for them.
I myself am a Balat Tshuva, and
Well,
I live in an amazing family, but it is a battleground in that half the family became Muslim, and the other half of the family continued on their path. So when we have simchas, we're not inviting them, we can't invite them, and I hear this from both sides because I'm the neutral one in the center. And it's pulling me apart because I'm saying if I live in this microcosm of what's going on in the world, what a tragic thing. I want to bring them closer. I want to bring them closer. I don't know how to do it.
I don't understand. Who's not inviting who to what? I don't really. Can you sort of explain a little bit?
The from ones won't invite the ones that aren't.
To what?
To a simcha.
To a simcha?
A bar mitzvah.
They won't invite a non-from person.
They won't invite a non-from person to a bar mitzvah.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Okay, great.
They won't invite
They might touch the wine.
The wedding. That's
what they're thinking.
And then they called me later and said, don't come. Please don't come. And when that happened, then they called me and said, no, they told me we can't even come now. Well, we don't want to come because we don't want to know about them. And then the other one say, oh,
Right.
they're inviting us to the bar mitzvah.
Okay, family feuds over religion, it sounds like. Okay, yes.
Rabbi Solomon said family therapy. Here you go.
What's the question? Yeah.
That was it?
I'm sorry, what is the question?
Okay, so what's the question?
The question is, how can I, my job, I feel, I was given this job by his family, to try and bring them together. And I've been trying to love both sides and trying to listen to both sides, but it's actually pulling me apart right now because each time one of these events come up, I think, oh no, I'm leaving the country now. I'm not staying around for this event. I don't want to hear this back and forth. And I feel terrible because it's happening to all my friends too.
Okay, we have a question.
Okay, so I can't speak for anybody else here, but I grew up in a family that was not Shomer Shabbos, and we didn't all become from at the same time. So there was a process. So there would be times when we would have part of the family was observant and part of the family was not observant. And I have found this to be true over and over again. Jews have more in common than they have apart from themselves. And what you need to do is stress the similarities. And therefore, you have to look at family dynamic and try to get the from people to be a little bit more tolerant and to get the non-from people to be a little bit more tolerant. Because non-from people can be incredibly intolerant, And you just have to get everybody, you have to stay positive and give across a positive thing and be a bridge as much as possible. And that's it, The world is filled with unreasonable people, right? Unreasonable being defined as do it my way, yeah? So people are unreasonable. But what you can do is be a voice for reason. And the more that you are that, the more you bring a family together.
We have come to, I think the keynote session is supposed to be starting already 11:15 and we're 11:18.
I'm speaking, so I could just
So no, you're speaking a little later. Okay, thank you.